And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Tuesday, February 15th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at indiancountrynews.com. So here are some of the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. The Department of Women's Studies at Washington State University has named internationally renowned artist Juan Quick-to-See Smith as the 2011 Joe Huckenhall Distinguished Visiting Lecturer for 2011. Smith will give her lecture titled A Survey of Contemporary Native American Art on March 30th in Kimbrough Hall, room 101, with a reception to follow immediately after. Smith is a painter, printmaker, artist, activist, and curator who has organized contemporary Native exhibits for more than 30 years now. Her multimedia work explores the ironies of myths and icons that bound in mainstream America about American Indians. She incorporates sign language, glyphs, pictograms, and collages to address issues such as the environment, Native American sovereignty, racism, and sexism. Through her imagery, she educates and challenges misconceptions about Indigenous culture. Born in 1940 to the St. Ignatius Indian Mission in Montana, she grew up on the Flathead Reservation. She is an enrolled member of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes of the Flathead Indian Nation. Leaving his teenage drug abuse behind him in Oregon, Dustin Weber was seeking a new beginning along California's rugged, far northern coast, happy to be on the land of his mother's heritage, the Yoruk tribe. Yet before Weber could get a proper start, the 25-year-old was swept out to sea at the mouth of the Klamath River by a tsunami surge generated thousands of miles away by the earthquake off of Japan's coast. Rescuers were unable to reach him last Friday and called off their efforts. He is presumed dead, though his body has not been found. His would be the first death of a person on the West Coast by a tsunami since 1964, when 11 people in nearby Crescent City died from the surge created by an earthquake in Alaska. People tried to yell for him, but the ocean was too loud for them to get his attention. The lower Elwha Klallam tribe will be hosting at least 30 representatives from federal, state, and local agencies and private funders on March 18th. A guest will be coming to the Port Angeles area to attend a project presentation and tour 3 key projects. At least 6 agencies and financial institutions will be sending local representatives. City Council member Don Perry and Klallam County Administrator Jim Jones will also be in attendance as guests of the tribe. The theme is A Journey from the Past into the future, encompassing the ancient village of tse-whit-zen, a food bank facility, and a new Head Start building. We are very excited to take our guests on a journey of where we have come from and where we are heading to improve the quality of life for our tribal members in the broader community, especially for our youth, our veterans, our elders, and the return of our ancestors' belongings, stated Frances Charles, tribal chairwoman. One of the projects highlighted will be a curation facility that will hold 64,700 artifacts found in the ancient village of tse-whit-zen. A need for a permanent food bank facility and a new Head Start building will also be featured. Dozens of criminal cases against former and current Navajo Nation lawmakers have overwhelmed the tribal court system to the extent that the defendants must pay for jury trials themselves if that's what they request. And the prosecutor has been asked to consider turning over cases to the federal government. Nearly 260 complaints were filed with the Window Rock District Court last October, charging 78 people in alleged misuse of Tribal Council's discretionary fund. Some of the defendants still haven't been arraigned, and many of those who have want jury trials. It's a demand that the tribal court system cannot meet. None of the tribe's 10 district courts that manage 51,000 civil and criminal cases has set aside funds for jurors in their budgets. Jury trials aren't a common in tribal court in any event, with only 8 being held in the reservation since 2007. The lack of resources in tribal courts is a common complaint in Indian country that includes funding and staffing shortages and limited capacity to conduct jury trials. A senior Turkish trade official was speaking at the 25th Annual Reservation Economic Summit and American Indian Business Trade Fair, March 14th through 17th in Las Vegas, Nevada, as part of the first foreign government delegation to participate in the conference. Selahattin Demirtaş, the Turkish, let me try that again, we'll try it. Selahattin Demirtaş, the Turkish Deputy State Minister for Foreign Trade, will lead 5 Turkish government officials to Las Vegas in a relationship-building trip facilitated by the Turkish Coalition of America. Demirtaş will attend as a representative of Turkish State Minister for Foreign Trade, Zafer Seglian, who has prioritized establishing commercial relationship between Turkey and Indian country. He joined former U.S. Senator Byron Dorgan to deliver the keynote address on March 15th. He will also join TCA President G. Lincoln McCurdy and tribal leaders on a March 17th panel to discuss Native American efforts to export their goods and services overseas and to attract foreign investment to tribal lands. TCA has worked since 2009 to build bridges between Native American tribes and Turkey, including organizing and leading the November 2010 Native American Business Cooperation Trip, which brought representatives of 17 Native American tribes to Turkey on a visit which drew national attention. Earlier this month, Colorado U.S. Senators Michael Bennet and Mark Udall reintroduced a bill that would help ensure that the Native American tuition waiver at Fort Lewis College in Durango would continue into the future. The waiver offers a tuition-free education at Fort Lewis College and is available to any student from a federally recognized tribe. Senate Bill 484 would offer federal financial assistance to Colorado to help pay for the cost of the tuition waiver, which is currently between $10 to $11 million a year. To date, Colorado has been responsible for paying the full cost of the tuition waiver for both resident and non-resident Native American students. In 2010, 668 out of the 786 Native American students receiving the tuition waiver at FLC were non-residents from 34 states. As the Native American enrollment at Fort Lewis College rose over the years, the cost of the tuition waiver to Colorado also grew. Senate Bill 484 specifies that the amount of the federal government's funding assistance would be capped at the cost of the tuition waiver for non-resident Native Americans for the 2010-2011 academic year at approximately $10 million. Warm Spring officials would like to change Oregon law to give tribal police officers jurisdiction off the reservation, but some non-tribal law enforcement officials want a two-way street. If tribal officers are to get more authority off the reservation, they say, then state, county, and municipal law enforcement officers should get more authority when they are on the reservation. Under existing law, tribal officers cannot arrest anyone off a reservation. If, for instance, there is a shooting at Rainbow Market just across the river from the Warm Springs Indian Reservation, it can take Jefferson County Sheriff deputies a while to get to the scene. For Warm Springs officers, it's only a few minutes away, but unless tribal officials have been cross-deputized, they cannot make an arrest. Officers of the Confederated Tribes of the Warm Springs and other tribes in Oregon say that giving them more authority off of reservation would improve public safety. They point out that they go through the same training and certification process as state-certified officers. North Dakota state senators voted last Friday to force the University of North Dakota to keep its Fighting Sioux nickname, but the school's president said he would take his orders from the Board of Higher Education instead. The Senate's 28-5 vote, following last month's overwhelming approval of it in the House, sets up a confrontation with the NCAA and the State Education Board, which asserts that it has the final say on whether the nickname stays or goes. A spokesman said the North Dakota governor will sign the bill requiring the nickname to stay in place. The legislation says UND and the board may not take any action to discontinue the use of the Fighting Sioux nickname or the Fighting Sioux logo, and says the law overrides previous decisions to do so. The logo depicts the profile of an American Indian warrior. The NCAA considers both the name and the logo offensive. If UND keeps them, the association says the school will be ineligible to host postseason tournaments, and its athletes may not wear the nickname and logo on their uniforms in postseason games. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country. On this edition of the Native News Update, we want to thank you for joining with us, and you come back again soon. Miigwech.